Yes, we need to pray and think through all of life with the gospel, but there's also a sense in which what we see shapes who we are. And so it's important to put out things that are beautiful for us to behold, because we become what we behold, actually. Right? Why is it that you and I can know from our pastors and even our own scripture reading that we're supposed to be freed from lust, freed from gossip and greed and all the rest, and yet we still fail to live a life worthy of the gospel that Paul talks about in Philippians 1. Why do we fail to live a life worthy of the gospel? And I suggest to us this morning is that it's because we have not properly and prayerfully connected the gospel to every ordinary corner of our lives. And I actually think every ordinary corner of the kingdom has a Christian assigned to it, and it's called calling. King David served the purposes of God in his generation until he died. What does that mean? That means God is doing something in your generation that he wasn't doing 25 years ago, that he may not be doing 25 years from now. But there are certain purposes of God in this generation that if you can take your gift, what you're born with, and your passions, what you're born for, and put them in service of God's purposes in this generation, I believe you'll probably be somewhere close to your central.
C.S. Lewis, right, gives a talk in London, writes all these books, and at this church, the lady comes up and says, Mr. Lewis, with all due respect, you're a Christian professor at Oxford, and my only question to you, good sir, is why didn't you write a Christian children's book series? Remember that? And then he says back to her, he says, well, with all due respect to you, ma'am, I did. I wrote a book so that when they hear it when they're 5 years old, and then when they hear the gospel when they're 25 years old, it would feel familiar to them. It would feel just right to them. And so he didn't write John 3:16 in all the pages of these books, but he did paint the visual gospel so that when someone later would share the verbal gospel, it would just feel right to them. And I think that's what we need to do in every second, whether it's a quarterback for the Oakland Raiders or your own cubicle or whatever you're going to be doing. You have an opportunity, especially young folks, you have an opportunity to figure out what God is calling you to. Because if you find your calling, you're going to be the best, so to speak, version of yourself as